Hey, soldiers, a U.S. Air Force general has commanded his officers to prepare for war with China by 2025. Now, this would have some devastating effects on several aspects of our economy here in America, to say nothing of, look, China's a nuclear power, all right? Of course, this would be precipitated over China wanting to reintegrate Taiwan. In recent years, there have been at least a handful of high-ranking U.S. military commanders which in some form or fashion have sounded the alarm over a coming war with China, with the latest warning being the most unusual, issued in the form of a memo by an active four-star general and circulated with an official order. So, this is not just some retired general on, CNN or, some talk show saying, look, prepare for war. It's going to happen. No, this individual is in the Air Force right now. He has purview over 50,000 personnel, and he has coupled this with an actual order. So this isn't just, him making an extemporaneous statement or speaking off of the cuff. No, this is official. The case is particularly significant given he took the rare step of passing it down, his statement, down through military command and to the chief officers he oversees, giving a greater urgency to the warning. A four-star Air Force general sent a memo on Friday to the officers he commands that predicts the U.S. will be at war with China in 2 years and tells them to get ready to prep by firing a clip at a target and aiming for the head. In the memo sent Friday and obtained by NBC News, General Mike Minihan, head of Air Mobility Command, said, quote, "I hope I'm wrong. My gut tells me we'll fight in 2025. Okay, it's important to note that General Minihan's statements and orders were made public on the 27th of January, 2023. I am recording this report on the 30th of January, 2023. It is now 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. In the intervening hours between when the statements were made public and right now, the White House has not pushed back or contradicted Minihan in any way. Further, the Republican chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee said on the 29th of January that, and this is a quote, "I hope he's wrong. I think he's right, though, unfortunately." That's Representative Michael McCall from Texas. Now, you did have a Democrat come out, and he didn't really counter what McCall said. Representative Adam Smith, he's from Washington, McCall's from Texas. Adam Smith, he said, quote, "Anything is possible. I'm really worried when anyone starts talking about war with China being inevitable." So he didn't deny that what the general is saying, could come to pass. He's just saying that, it worries him, and it worries me too. And it's important to note that Adam Smith, that representative who's a Democrat, this gentleman served on the House Armed Services Committee for 4 years. Okay, so he's not being fatalistic, but he's not denying what Minihan has said in terms of why he thinks we, might get into that conflict. We'll get into that in a second. Now, in addition to having 50,000 personnel, Minihan also has 500 planes under his command. His message is particularly alarming, given it instructed commanders under him to consider their personal affairs and whether a visit should be scheduled with their servicing base legal office to ensure they are legally ready and prepared. So he is saying, listen, get your stuff together. This is going to get real, in his opinion. And he doesn't want any impediments, legal impediments or otherwise, I would imagine, for his officers going out there and being called to war with China, again, a nuclear power. He explained that he sees Beijing as desirous of moving against the self-ruled island of Taiwan within that time period, by 2025, and that it would trigger a large U.S. military response. So this is interesting because, there's been some ambiguity in the way in which we, will prosecute this thing if China does invade Taiwan. Of course, Joe Biden has made statements that we will defend Taiwan. And then, the White House has come back after that and tried to tamp that back a little bit. But apparently, Minihan, General Minihan, he must have information that says, indeed, we will militarily defend Taiwan in the event China invades. Now, again, we're going to get into how that would affect life here in the United States, and it would have a dramatic and drastic effect on life here. Get to that in a second. The Air Force general further urged a, quote, fortified, ready, integrated, and agile joint force maneuver team ready to fight and win inside the first island chain, unquote. So that means we're going there, okay? Of course, if they invade Taiwan, then we'll have to go there, right? And in the memo, General Minihan issued an order requiring that all major efforts in preparation for a coming China fight to be reported to him directly by February 28th. It's like a month away, okay? So this guy's getting ready. As for why he thinks China will invade Taiwan within the next 2 years, NBC described the following. Minihan said in the memo that because both Taiwan and the U.S. will have presidential elections in 2024, the U.S. will be distracted and Chinese President Xi Jinping will have an opportunity to move on Taiwan. Okay, so he's issued this official memo. He's put orders in place to prepare for a coming China fight and report those preparations to him by February 28th because he thinks that the election will present a distraction and they'll move in. And that's an interesting take on it because, yeah, look at the state of politics in America today. Do we really trust Joe Biden as commander-in-chief in a war with China? But if China starts this while President Biden is in office, it's not like it can just be called off. The next president, whoever that person may be, will have to inherit this and continue to deal with it. Now, Beijing has long claimed it is only interested in pursuing peaceful reunification with Taiwan based on political means. But that's a lie because we see China they've increased their military operations over the airspace of Taiwan. So they are, flexing their muscle and giving you an indication that, look, we'll take it there if we believe that's warranted. China has further laid blame on Washington for militarizing the island and thus creating current tensions and by stoking independence forces through high-level visits such as Nancy Pelosi's ultra-provocative August trip to Taipei. It should be noted that General Minihan has a reputation for being among the Pentagon's most outspoken and hawkish top generals. In his latest memo, he directed all Air Mobility Command personnel to, quote, fire a clip into a 7-meter target with the full understanding that unrepentant lethality matters most. Aim for the head. Now, how will this affect our economy here? Well, in a major way. Believe it or not, guys, China accounts for 95% of U.S. imports of ibuprofen, 91% of U.S. imports of hydrocortisone, 70% of U.S. imports of acetaminophen, Tylenol, 40 to 45% of U.S. imports of penicillin, and 40% of U.S. imports of heparin. Now, what heparin is, it's an anticoagulant. So if you've ever had an IV in your arm, every now and then, the nurse will come in and she'll inject some heparin. You can kind of taste it. It's got a metallic taste when they put it in the IV. And it just keeps that IV clean. It has a ton of other uses in more involved and more serious medical applications as well. So basically, if we go to war with China and they say, hey, look, let's cut off the supplies of these vital medications until this conflict is sorted out, they could really hamstring our medical industry, okay? And seriously bring that war home to America without firing a shot. Can you imagine if you're not able to get ibuprofen or acetaminophen or heparin, for that matter, or penicillin? That's a very real possibility when you take a look at what China is producing and we are importing from them with regard to these vital medications. In a letter to health chiefs last year, Senate Finance Chairman Chuck Grassley cited reports claiming 80% of active pharmaceutical ingredients are produced mostly in China and India. This is takes you back to the semiconductor piece as well. That's another big, vital, important product coming out of that region, specifically Taiwan. And you can best believe this is going to be used as a retaliation tool as if we, God hope, this doesn't happen. But if it does, war with China by 2025, if it occurs, these medications will be used as a retaliation tool. We'll be deprived of that. Now, of course, if there is a war on Taiwanese soil, you got to remember Taiwan accounts for around 65% of global semiconductor supply. So that's something that's going to affect the entire world. And nearly 90% of the smallest and most sophisticated chips, they are produced there in Taiwan. So this discussion that we have here on, YouTube, all of the important applications in banking, in the provisioning of electricity and power, transportation, everything's electronic, guys, you know it. And that would be seriously curtailed if we got into a war where they were possibly dropping bombs on Taiwan and disrupting their infrastructure and ability to produce semiconductors, which is a very delicate process. Certainly something that's not going to go on to the tune that it's happening now. It's not going to go on in a war in the same way that it is now. All right, guys, so the United States is under a lot of pressure here lately. We've got this situation where this Air Force General, Minihan, is, preparing his forces for literal war with China. We also did a report on the fact that Saudi Arabia just made a move in conjunction with China that will seriously affect the dollar, the U.S. dollar. So we're getting kind of attacked from a couple of different angles here. The U.S. dollar is under attack by, of all countries, Saudi Arabia. Check out this report where we go into detail about it. You need to understand what's going on. Guys, I'll talk to you soon.